Hi, my name is Trish Davis, and I was a senior marker for some of the questions in Standard Maths 1. I'm just going to run through the questions that I marked and some common pitfalls, but also areas of strength and things to watch out for. The first question I marked was this one here with the two painters. It was generally well done by the students. They were able to calculate the costs for each painter. I'd say that the biggest failing was that they didn't read the question properly and that they didn't work out how much would be saved. So a lot of students were able to accurately work out the cost, but then didn't answer the question by saying how much would be saved. They just said which painter it was. So I would certainly encourage kids to look at the number of marks that are allocated for the question and see what they can do in regards to that, making sure that 3 marks, they obviously need to do 3 things. Next question. This question wasn't very well done at all. Most students thought that the travel graph needed to mirror what was drawn on the graph originally. There were lots and lots and lots of students who they drew the horizontal line for the at rest, which was great, but then they just mirrored that getting down to 10 minutes at the end. So not very well done at all. Yet again, it says refer to change in speed and distance travel. So most students left out one of those, so could only access 1 mark. The most common one to mention was this distance travel. Not many students were able to look at that curve and know what that meant in relation to the change in speed. So rulers were missing by most students. It was drawn freehand for, I would say, 95% of the candidates who attempted this question. There were a significant number of non-attempts for this question as well. This question was really poorly done, and to be fair, there's a lot in it for the 2 marks. Lots of numbers and lots of different places, well, 2 places. It was quite amazing how many students thought that there was only 1 hour's difference between Melbourne and Honolulu. And better responses, as I've said here, included the timeline. Students who were able to draw out a line with Honolulu on the left and Melbourne on the right and zero in the middle were more successful in knowing that there was 21 hours difference. Those students who were able to access marks worked out that they had to answer the day and the time, but a lot of people left out the day, so they just wrote the time down, so they were unable to get the full marks. This is an area that I think needs a lot of practice. Those time things it was not well done at all. This was really well done. Students were able to substitute 10 in for R. Very few errors. The most common errors were using 6 as part of the numerator or not knowing that 3R meant 3 times R. But that was not very often that you saw that. That was really well answered, this question. This question is quite interesting, and I think the language in this for Standard 1 students was quite significant. A show question is something that they haven't practiced, I would guess, because the value of K is given there, and a lot of students didn't know what to do with that. They didn't know where to put the W and where to put the N, and they mixed them up. Sometimes they fudged it, they used the 500 and the 2.5 the wrong way around, they were unsure about units, so actually not very well done at all. Part B, if they recognise that that was the same equation that they used in part A, then they were generally okay, but yet again, swapping around the values of W and N was the biggest mistake. So I've written there, check for reasonableness of answer. I don't think that's peculiar just to Standard 1 students, but certainly there were some answers there that made no sense whatsoever. This question, like I said before, hardly any students had a ruler with them. It was drawn to scale, so they just guessed. A lot of students assumed it was a square. They did know to multiply by 100, which was good, but they certainly then just made stuff up because they didn't know how long that was. A lot of the students, not a lot, a number of students found the perimeter or similar. They just, it was an interesting question, but certainly remind your students that they do need to bring a ruler. This question, 4 marks, it was very hard. It was the last question on the paper. There was not a lot of access points for students because I think that there were a lot of things to take into account, and there was a lot of confusion around what the price of the car was, what the table was showing, and what they had to do. And I know that this is the trend to give 4 and 5 mark unscaffolded questions, but certainly it was hard for the students to access. Those who used declining balance, who were able to use the formula properly, were okay, but then the rate became confusing sometimes with the 6% and the 20%. The numbers in the table didn't seem to follow. People didn't know what to do with the numbers in the table or to use them at all. So I think that one of the key takeaways for this is that if it's 4 marks, really encouraging the students to set it out really clearly and highlight. There were not many kids who used a highlighter in this and didn't make the connection between the lines at the top where it says it's a 5-year reducing balance loan and the car depreciating and the amount of money left over. It was very, very hard for the students to access at this level any marks whatsoever. And that's it.